Hey, thanks for clicking in. It's Amy McGrady, your premier real estateologist, bringing you another video about South Florida. So this one today is going to be about the suburbs and neighborhoods around Miami. So as we say in Miami, bienvenidos. Now, I just want to remind you before we get into the content of this video to please share this video if you know anybody thinking about moving to Miami, because there's going to be a lot of at least preliminary important information on here. Because downtown Miami isn't for everybody, but the suburbs and all of the other little places around downtown Miami are golden. So let's not miss those. Share the video, watch the video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the little bell so that you can get new videos. So that's really it. I want to remind you that my background of your premier real estateologist is one who's studied real estate most of her adult life, more than half my life. I practiced law in Miami and in Fort Lauderdale for almost 30 years, just under 30 years. Sold the farm, got into real estate sales, and I brought all that legal expertise with me, all that legal paranoia with me, all that anticipating as best I can what might be ahead of you in buying Florida real estate. So just remember, I add value. And stay with me because we're going to look at some amazing suburbs of Miami. All right, so here we are. Let's look at the map. Let's start at Miami and then fan out from there to see all of the other wonderful places to live. Let me put my glasses on so I can see this along with you. I think I'll break it down by what some would call like urban and trendy neighborhoods close to downtown. So here's the downtown. I'm going to back it out so you can see Miami at the bottom of the state. Ooh, look at that. Bottom of the state of Florida. I'll zoom out so you can see where I am. See that? Now we're going to zoom in and get to downtown and look at the neighborhoods around downtown. So, of course, there's the Brickell area of Miami. So the Brickell area of Miami is it's generally, this is your inlet to the ocean into downtown Miami. It's called the Miami River. It used to have an Indian name, and I can't remember the indigenous people's name. If you know it, or if you want me to research it, hit me up in the comments so I remember to do that. Gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I used to know it when I was a kid because I was raised here. Anyway, and Miami, incidentally, a little bit of trivia, used to be known as Fort Dallas. Just that two-day horseback ride from Fort Lauderdale, the northernmost fort. So first, Miami had an indigenous people name. I can't remember what it was. It was something with Miami in it, but it was longer. And then it was colonized and the name was changed to Fort Dallas, and then back to Miami, a shorter version of the indigenous people name. So anyway, this is the Biscayne Bay here, and that's the way to go out to the ocean. We'll see more of that later. But we're going to focus on the downtown, come in from Biscayne Bay to downtown, and Brickell Avenue. Mary Brickell was a big pioneer down here, so a lot of things were named after her. Interesting, named after her, not so much whoever her husband was, but Mary Brickell was a huge influence in South Florida, especially Miami. So we've got Brickell Avenue, and we've got the Brickell area. So when people talk about Brickell, this is the little area that they're talking about. It's basically called Miami's Manhattan of the South. It's really a bunch of high-rises, luxury condos, finance hub, and it's very walkable. So if you live in Brickell, most people I know that live there They say they don't even need a car to live there. However, you got to get off the rock, so it is nice to have a car, because once you get out of this little Brickell area, you're going to start needing a car. Mass transit is not really that great in Miami. So that's it. And then if we go north of the river, we're into downtown Miami, along over by Bayfront Park, the Kaseya Center. That's where the Miami Heat plays and concerts and stuff. So this is all downtown Miami, which is just south of area that we call Overtown. Overtown is really, the developers are really slamming in there lately. But I'm going to stick back to the urban and trendy classification of neighborhoods. So we've got Brickell, we've got downtown Miami, we've got Edgewater. So, of course, the urban and trendy neighborhoods tend to follow water. So we'll just go a little bit north past 15th Street. This is kind of where now Art Basel happens. It used to happen more kind of in here. It still does. But the main part of it now is over here. And now we'll scoot up here. Miami downtown is one, and Edgewater is just here to the east along the water. Edgewater, hence the name. So these are the trendy little neighborhoods. Wynwood, where there were murals on probably 99% of the buildings. Just amazing. And if you've gone to Wynwood once and you've seen the Wynwood walls and you've seen the artwork there, go back again, because it's constantly changing. It's a beautiful site, and it's a great neighborhood. It's an arts district with good nightlife, and creatives live there, as well as this is the area of Miami that's kind of turning into a tech hub, along with Brickell, but it's moved up north to Wynwood. And Edgewater is just, so you got US 1 here, so Edgewater's kind of over here by the water. And then up north of Wynwood is the Miami Design District, another trendy and creative area of town to live in. It is actually more commercial than residential, because it's loaded with beautiful high-end art galleries and design centers, interior decorators, some 5-star Michelin restaurants, and it's more quiet. So the Miami Design District is more quiet than the Wynwood area, but super close. And then along all of this is Midtown Miami, which is also in high demand. Here, Design District. So that's how your trendy and urban neighborhoods flow from downtown. Just go a little bit north up to about 54th Street, and then we're going to go into Little Haiti and other up-and-coming and more established neighborhoods. Morningside is also an amazing neighborhood just north of Edgewood, primarily residential and beautiful architecture from the early part of the 1900s. Then we've got our luxury and waterfront neighborhoods. So we're going to go back south. Here we go, back down to downtown Miami, into Brickell. And we're going to talk about Coconut Grove. Follow the water, Coconut Grove. Coconut Grove is actually the oldest Miami neighborhood with mature foliage. And when you go to the Grove, it feels like a village still. You know, I guess they have tight zoning and restrictive covenants, and they protect the historical vibe of the neighborhood. It's really lush landscaping, upscale neighborhood, and very family friendly. There are a lot of very prestigious private schools located near Coconut Grove. And you've got Southwest Coconut Grove, and then the little villages, Sunrise Point and Sunrise Harbour, also beautiful areas. And if we go a little bit away from the water, believe it or not, and head over to Coral Gables. So there's the Grove. A little bit north, we hit Coral Gables. So that's where the Biltmore Hotel is. And the architecture there is just extraordinary. A lot of Mediterranean architecture, well-preserved, tree-lined streets, top schools as well, and golf clubs, a lot of golf courses around there. And what else? Miracle Mile has lovely upscale shopping and upscale restaurants. So another luxury neighborhood for sure. Then if we pop back to start at our point of origin, downtown Miami, now let's go over the MacArthur Causeway. No, let's go a little bit further south from downtown Miami. We're going to go over the Rickenbacker Causeway. Remember, named after some guy named Rickenbacker. I know he sold cars a little bit. Virginia Key on the Rickenbacker. So we're pulling off the mainland and going over to Virginia Key. This is a public park. Was the historically black beach in Florida in the days of segregation. It is now owned by an African American board of trustees and a trust, and it's a fabulous venue for the public as well as a venue for festivals like the Love Burn and concert venues. It's a terrific place. I used to play there when I was a kid. And then you keep going past Virginia Key and you come to Crandon Park. Look at that, it's a huge park. And this is all like, there's places to pull over here and park your car and use the built-in barbecue grills. So you have to bring old school charcoal and lighter fluid, unless you have some other contraption that you put in your car, but there are actually permanent barbecue structures there. And then you get into Key Biscayne after you pass through Crandon Park, and this is where the residential portion of the island is. And very exclusive, a little villagey center of the village where you can go to the grocery store and get your hair cut and things like that and not have to leave the island. But for the most part, if you live there, you're going to want to leave the island at some point. But it's definitely island living, high-end island living, a lot of beachfront condos, a decent amount of single-family homes, but those are going away. And it's just an exclusive and a quiet neighborhood. And there's another state park at the end of the island with the Cape Florida Lighthouse that's still guiding ships in so that they don't crash on the way in. Stiltsville down here is interesting. That's a bunch of houses that were built on stilts, as you can see there. I think there are only 6 left because the hurricanes take them out over the years. But I just talked to a guy a couple of months ago who was coming in and provisioning. He lives in a house on Stiltsville, and he told me there were 6 left. And he loves living out there, but you're definitely off grid. He works off of and lives off of a generator in the house for electricity and whatnot. He has to go in and out to the mainland by boat, and he has to come into Miami and provision for food and gas and things like that. But he loves it, and I think it would be kind of cool too. So check that out. Google Stiltsville. Look at the history. It's pretty amazing. The other funny thing that he told me was that when the hurricanes come, they get whacked just like everybody else. He said, but by the time he gets on his boat, goes into Miami, gets his provisions, goes back, and he's rebuilt by the time Miami's figuring out what they're going to do after the hurricane. It's pretty funny. Pretty tight-knit little community out there. Let's see, we got Key Biscayne. So that was Key Biscayne. Now we're still on the luxury and waterfront neighborhoods. And of course, we've got Miami Beach. We've got South Beach, Mid Beach, North Beach. I have another video on South Beach, so if you're interested in more detailed information, but still scratching the surface, on South Beach, go ahead and look at that. But a wonderful place to live too. Condos, apartments, world-class eating, world-class beaches, world-class accommodations. But when you're leaving downtown Miami, take a little ride into the Perez Art Museum. We have a lot of art museums, by the way, in Miami. And the Perez is one of the fabulous ones. And all the museums seem to have really good little restaurants inside too. So when you're hitting Miami, hit the Perez, then just keep on going over the MacArthur Causeway. Now we're getting into the exclusive neighborhoods. Star Island, Palm Island, Hibiscus Island. This is where a lot of celebrities and sports stars live. Al Capone lived there at one point as well. Dodge Island is where the cruise ships go in. And then we've got Fisher Island. Fisher Island is probably the most exclusive area to live in all of the country, from what I've read. So you can only get there by ferry. The prices, go up to $100 million. There are a number of condos there. There are less single-family homes. It's completely private, completely secure, and definitely a place where high net worth individuals live, such as big CEOs, sports stars, television and movie celebrities, Oprah Winfrey being one of note who had a place there in the past. I don't think she does anymore. Yeah, it's ultra exclusive, high net worth people that live there, only accessible by boat. Fisher Island is about 216 acres. It was a sandbar that this guy Fisher bought from a doctor in Miami in the early 1900s. It was owned by the first African-American millionaire. And that doctor, I can't remember his name, sold it to a guy named Fisher, who made his money like in cars or something too. And Fisher named it after himself, and then sold it to one of the descendants of the Vanderbilt family. And then after he died, like in the 40s, it really kind of went downhill. And in the 80s, it got brought up again. I can't remember by which developer, but what happened was it was kind of run down, but a few people lived there. This developer came in the 80s and built some golf courses, imported sand from the Bahamas, which they still do, to keep their beaches going and to keep that sandbar high. It's really just a sandbar. So then, and built these luxury condos and made it what it is today as this ultra luxurious location with the richest zip code in the country. That would be 33109. When you live there, notice the only way, like I said, on and off the island is by boat. So, of course, if you have your yacht, you'll go in and off that way. There is a heliport, so you can fly in on your helicopter as well. And if you're driving around, once you get there, it's golf carts. Mostly everybody gets around on golf carts on Fisher Island. And there's a private club on Fisher Island. There are no stores, so if you live there, you're either having your food and other provisions delivered, or you go off island to provision for yourself. No stores. There is a private club on the island where you have a 9-hole golf course, a marina, tennis courts, a spa, restaurants, preschool, full concierge service. So, whatever you need, you just order it. And if you can afford to live there, you can afford to just order whatever you need and have it delivered and put away. So that's Fisher Island. Very exclusive. And it looks like it's just on the download. People drive by it every day and don't even know what a gem is there. So those were our luxury and waterfront neighborhoods. Let's look at the suburban family-friendly areas, okay? So we're going to go south. We're going to pass by Coral Gables, Coconut Grove, head down the highway. That's what we call US 1. We call it the highway. And you're heading into University of Miami, which is in Coral Gables. So it's just a little bit south of Coral Gables. And you start hitting South Miami, Pinecrest, Palmetto Bay, Perrine, Cutler Bay. These neighborhoods are all very family-friendly. Large lots, large houses, garages are common. So you go up to Miami and it's like, if you can find a house with a garage, you're doing amazing. When you start coming down here, it starts opening up. The lots are bigger, the houses are bigger, the garages are there, and you're still just minutes away from water on the bay and close to your little vacation house in the Keys if you want one or have one. Very good schools. Sections of especially Pinecrest and Palmetto Bay have, over there off of Old Cutler, have a lot of estates. Deering Bay is a pretty exclusive, and Kings Bay is a pretty exclusive place. The Deering Estate is a great tourist destination and museum. If you're down here, have a look at the Deering Estate. It's pretty cool. They've preserved it from when the Deering family lived there. South Miami. So these are the more family-friendly, larger property places to live. And then you go inland a little bit from there, and you're into Kendall, the Hammocks, Richmond Heights, Quail Heights, South Miami Heights, this area, which again is suburban, lots of shopping, lots of malls, very good hospitals. So if it's important to you to be near healthcare systems, like the Kendall area and down south here, is highly recommended. Although if you go up to the Miami area as well, where's Jackson? Jackson Memorial, a teaching hospital, works with the Cleveland Clinic, and University of Miami is a world-class hospital just west of downtown Miami over by the baseball stadium. But also, we've got U of M down there and the Baptist Hospital System, which is very good in the suburbs down here. Now, the up-and-coming, they had a category for up-and-coming and more affordable neighborhoods of Miami. Take us to Hialeah, sometimes called Little Havana, Westchester, West Miami, Doral. Doral is more of a suburb and more like Kendall. It's further north of Kendall. Lots of golf courses there, close to SAU and universities, basically. Lots of easy to get to employment if you live in these areas here. Look at the highway system. It's just terrific to get around town and do your work commute. We've got Hialeah is actually not Little Havana. Little Havana is just west of Brickell, but Hialeah is an enclave of Miami and Miami Springs. That's where I was raised, which now is pretty much 90% Latin or Cuban American. So the primary language spoken in the Hialeah area is Spanish. So if that's your preference, then you might want to look at Hialeah. And then we've got Miami Shores, which is a lovely neighborhood in North Miami. Bigger properties in North Miami, nice sized lots. Miami Shores, super close again to the water and tight code restrictions. So it's really pretty. It's really kept pretty. But if you live there, I think they even control what color you can paint your house on the outside. It's pretty tight, but that's what happens in these neighborhoods or these cities where there's a lot of consistency in the look, such as the Gables with the Mediterranean look and the tree-lined streets. I mean, tight code enforcement. In Miami Shores, Coral Gables, Boca Raton. Here we got Little River and Little Haiti. See, it's just north of the design districts, so this is already popped and it's already expensive. Little Haiti is already popping too, but you still might be able to get a deal in there, or at least make an investment in there that will result in a profit to you after at least a 10-year hold period. I don't think anything's popping, quickly. And then there's Allapattah. If I scroll down, where's Allapattah? It's just west of Miami. So there's Little Havana. So that's just west of the Brickell area. Allapattah over here. There it is. Oh, look at that. The Museum of Sex. Isn't that interesting? I told you we had a lot of museums. I think that's in conjunction with one of the universities in town. And it used to be over on South Beach, but it's moved over to Allapattah now. Allapattah is really hot too because, again, Edgewater and Wynwood have already popped. And, there's the University of Miami Healthcare Center I was looking for earlier too, in conjunction with the Sylvester and University of Miami Teaching Hospital. Anyway, back to Allapattah. So Allapattah, most of the buildings there historically have been warehouse and industrial, but they're being converted into creative spaces. And some of them are coming down, and there's a lot of rental units going in. So it's an industrial to arts district shift is what's going on. Well, El Portal, so that's more over by north up by Little Haiti, and there it is, Miami Shores. It's between Little Haiti and Miami Shores in that corridor, and even up to Biscayne Park and North Miami. Good places to invest. First of all, you're close to a seaport, you're close to an airport, and look how close you are to water. So those are good, I think, good investment areas. Now, for the international and business-minded buyers, we're looking at Doral, which we talked about. We say business because a lot of world-class golf courses in Doral. That's the one thing that people love about it. Easy shopping, easy everything, easy highways. Popular with the Latin American buyers. There's gated communities there and golf courses as mentioned. And then if we start heading north with Miami, see we're on South Beach here. We're going to go up with my little cursor here, up to Miami Beach proper, up to North Beach. Then we hit Surfside and Bal Harbour. Bal Harbour's an exclusive part of the beach with the Bal Harbour shops and not a lot of land, so low supply, high demand means it ain't cheap. And then up to Eastern Shores, Sunny Isles. Sunny Isles is an Aventura or condos galore. You're riding up, you primarily ride up the A1A, and these are just all lined with condos. The traffic is brutal, but the condos are gorgeous. In Sunny Isles, they really experimented first, I think, before some of the other areas of town with these luxury condos like the Porsche Design Center, the Ritz is there, the Aquafina. There are a lot of luxury condos there. But the experiment that the Porsche Design Center did was they have car elevators. So basically, if you live there in a unit, say you live on the 20th floor, you pull your car into the elevator and the elevator goes up with you in the car, and then you just drive your car into your garage that's part of your condo. Now there's the Bentley building down there, Porsche, what else? McLaren. There's a couple in there like luxury car designer buildings that are big with the car elevators, and they are really cool. Of course, when the Porsche design started, I think I read back in the day that they had some problems with those elevators, but they're all worked out now. International buyers are over here. Aventura too. Oh, look at this Aventura. Lots of condos. All of these are like condos. And then you go out to Biscayne Boulevard to do your shopping and the Aventura Mall and the other mall. Then you can go north into Broward County, into Hallandale, and do some more shopping. And this is the old racetrack. Lots of restaurants, lots of shopping. Scooting back down Golden Beach, very exclusive strip of land right on the border of Dade County and Broward County, which is where Fort Lauderdale is. So that's an overview of the suburbs of Miami. You've got Biscayne Gardens, Miami Gardens, Opa-locka, Miami Lakes. Miami Lakes was kind of started by Don Shula, head coach of the Dolphins. He kind of put that on the map along with Senator Graham. Hialeah Gardens, Medley, back down to Hialeah, Doral. There's the airport, easy access for everyone. Look at that smack dab. They put that airport in the right spot, smack dab in the population. However, as the population grew and the families went south for more bang for their buck, you're getting a little further from the airport. And then you go down into Naranja, Princeton, Leisure City, and Homestead. Homestead and Florida City are really booming right now too, because there are new developments there and they're affordably priced, especially for her first-time home buyers. And Homestead has an adorable little center of town. I've always liked Homestead, and it's always been overlooked. I'm glad to see that it's coming into its own now. And then you have the Redland over here. We call it the Redlands, but they call it Redland. This is historically an agricultural part of Miami-Dade County. But again, humans are moving out there. And it's still, though, like everybody that lives, look how big these lots are. Everybody's got like at least a half acre of land that they live on, sometimes more. These are probably half-acre lots. This looks like an acre. And then you can buy 40 acres still, 50 acres. There's a great Buddhist temple out here. But when you go out to the Redlands, you just feel like, can't believe you're still in Dade County. It feels like you're in the country, which is another beautiful place to live. If you want a lot of land, then you live there. The issue about living in the Redlands is you're about a half hour to 40 minutes from anywhere that you need to go. Whether it's shopping, the hospital, restaurants, anything like that. There's a few random little restaurants along the sides where Crandon Detention Center is. So it's out there in the country. So that's been a little overview of other areas besides what you always hear about downtown Miami. It's all still Miami-Dade County, but they're really lovely. And it's interesting. Miami is just now surging, not just now, but probably in the past 20 years, 15 to 20 years, Miami was like nothing but the courthouse or offices, but it's really become a city where you have a life and walkability and all the beautiful things about a city. So that's it. Thank you for watching my map video and listening to my mouth talk to you about the suburbs and surrounding areas around Miami. I hope you have a fabulous day, and thank you once again. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell, reach out to me if you have any questions whatsoever, and share the video if you know anyone that's considering moving to the Miami area. Bye.